guys, and welcome back to TSTV for the prediction show for game week 25 in the Premier League. Now, as usual, I will be doing a separate show for Brighton versus Chelsea round 2 after obviously the FA Cup game last week. I did want to record a video a little bit earlier on in the week, but I actually had a wisdom tooth taken out yesterday and it was a bit painful to speak, so I didn't want to subject you to any of that. So, as usual, I'll start from the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, which is Leicester versus Arsenal. Now, I'm not really going to delve that deeply into the FA Cup games, simply for the fact that, again, some of the teams here didn't actually play in the FA Cup, and also some teams rested players and there were different kind of teams, so it's quite difficult to really analyse for this particular match. But obviously Arsenal didn't play last week in the FA Cup. They went on a warm weather trip to Dubai, I think it was, where they suffered another really long-term injury to Kai Havertz. I mean, so many of their striking, attacking options are out injured at this moment in time. I think they've only got as senior options, if you can call Ethan Wanyeri a senior option, him, Raheem Sterling and Leandro Trossard. And I certainly do sympathise with Arsenal to an extent, because obviously my team Chelsea, we've got lots of injuries in the attacking part of the pitch at this moment in time as well. So yeah, they go to Leicester very depleted in that part of the pitch. Obviously last time out in the league absolutely hammered Man City 5-1. It was a bit of a strange game in some ways, because in the first kind of hour it was very nip and tuck. Obviously Arsenal went 1-0 up, Man City equalised, and then they got a deflected goal straight away through Thomas Partey, and then just absolutely ran riot. And you know, after that there was no stopping them really. It was a really brilliant performance for that first half hour. They did not let Man City breathe at all, and it could have actually been more, in all honesty. So they should really go into this game with some confidence, but because it's, you know, been a couple of weeks, and obviously since then there's been a couple more injuries that they've had inflicted upon them, Martinelli in the League Cup, and obviously Havertz on this warm weather trip. It'll be interesting to see what sort of mindset they go in. But the one thing that is key is that they're still going to have their first choice midfield and defence, which again is very, very capable of holding onto a clean sheet. So if they can just nick a goal in a game, they've still got every chance of winning football matches. Leicester City, meanwhile, in the league last time out, they got absolutely hammered at Everton. I think Everton scored after 10 seconds, which is, I think, some sort of record in the Premier League, or it must be right up there. Yeah, I mean, they've had a real kind of hard time of things of late. They don't play particularly great football. They don't have many weapons in the attacking area of the pitch. They obviously had that winner against Tottenham a couple of weeks back, and obviously Tottenham at the time were having some real difficulties. And look, I don't really see things changing here for Leicester. And I know Arsenal have got their injury issues, but I do think they will get through this game. They've got some tougher challenges ahead, but I think they will win this game. So Leicester 0, Arsenal 2. The first of the Saturday 3 o'clock games is Fulham versus Nottingham Forest at Craven Cottage. Now, this is an intriguing game because both teams are having, very good seasons. Obviously, Nottingham Forest sitting in third at this moment in time, having an absolutely extraordinary season in the league. But Fulham are, quietly going about their business as well. Last time out, they went to Newcastle and won 2-1. Now, Newcastle's home record's been a bit funny this season. They've lost some games that they probably should have won, and they were 1-0 up in that game as well. But, a great job in coming back into that one. Raul Jimenez and Rodrigo Muniz with the goals. And, they do carry a lot of threat up front. They do have, some quality up there. Obviously they've re-signed Willian as well, who I'm not sure will be fit to play in this game. But, that adds a bit more experience and quality into that final third of the pitch. They've been pretty good defensively. Their underlying numbers at the back have been good this season. And they're just a real solid outfit in the Premier League. Sometimes they have games where they're not quite at it, and they're on the other end of a bad result, but they very rarely get absolutely battered. And they've had some real signature results this season, going to Anfield, drawing 2-2, obviously beating Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and again going to Newcastle and winning 2-1. That is a really good result for them, and they should go into this game full of confidence, as obviously will Nottingham Forest. The last game they played in the league, they absolutely walloped Brighton 7-0, and it could have been far more. I mean, they were absolutely superb that day, and again, what a job Nuno Espirito Santos doing up there. I mean, he's got the team firing on all cylinders. They're able to, play decent football in attack. They've got some real quality up front, but they're really tough to beat as well. And they obviously had that real hiding at Bournemouth the week before that. And, by all accounts, he really got into his team and said, look, this sort of performance isn't acceptable. You need to go and rectify that and show why we're third in the league at this moment in time. And, they really delivered for him, and they were absolutely fantastic in that game. So, yeah, it's quite a tough one to call, really. But I think Fulham won the reverse fixture at the City Ground earlier in the season, which is a really great result. Again, going on to other good results they've had this season. But I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest in this one. They've got the bit between their teeth. They can really, I think, see that kind of top four finish, because every other team around them is faltering and, have got injury problems or, are struggling, in terms of their general form. So I'm going to go Fulham 0, Nottingham Forest 2. They're very good defensively as well, and they keep a lot of clean sheets. So I think they will edge this one. The next Saturday 3 o'clock game is Aston Villa versus Ipswich. Now, last time in the league, Villa lost 2-0 away at Wolves, who obviously have been struggling all season, but it is a local derby, and I actually predicted Wolves to win that game because there was so much at stake for them, and it was a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday, but it was under the lights. The atmosphere was always going to be very, very raucous, and Villa obviously had just come off the back of a big Champions League game as well, and they've historically not done great in fixtures after European games this season. So I did think they would struggle in that game, and since then they obviously went and beat Tottenham in the Cup last week, and again they're still in the mix for this top 4, top 5 race, because I think they're only 6 points behind Chelsea, and they actually play Chelsea in the next game week. And other sides in and around them, City, Newcastle, they're being quite inconsistent, so they should still see themselves as really in the mix for a top 5 finish at this moment in time. They obviously play an Ipswich team who lost really disappointingly against Southampton last time out. I mean, Southampton have been absolutely abysmal this season, and as I predicted in the last game week, I did think they might win because they showed a bit of signs in a couple of previous games, even though they have been so bad, that they were slowly improving, and I just felt the pressure was so on Ipswich in that game to get a result, and they just couldn't live up to that. Yeah, it's looking really difficult for Ipswich now. I can't see them staying up. I think it probably will be the 3 that came up that will go back down again. I can't really justify giving them the 3 points here, or even getting a point at Villa Park. I think it could be a bit of a struggle for them here on out. So I'm going to predict Aston Villa 3, Ipswich Town 1. Next up is Manchester City versus Newcastle. This is a real juicy Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, isn't it? I would have thought this would be one of the games on TV because, both sides are quite unpredictable at this moment in time. Obviously, Newcastle had a couple of, bad results at home in the league, losing 4-1 at home to Bournemouth and then losing 2-1 at home to Villa, sandwiched between lots of really good results. And we all know the threat that they have. When they do set up deep in a deep bank of 4 or 5 at the back, they can be really, really difficult to break down. And what helps is that they have 2 really brilliant weapons up front, and Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, that can cause people, any team, all sorts of problems. Because, again, they work hard, they're great on the counter-attack, and they've got such good quality and such good chemistry that I think, they could cause Man City real problems here. Man City, again, came off the back of a really disappointing defeat to Real Madrid. They were 2-1 up with 5 minutes to go into that game, and it looked for all the world that they would take a lead to the Bernabeu and boost their hopes of qualifying for the last 16. But the same old frailties came back to bite them. They had a similar game against Man United in the season, didn't they? When I think they were 1-0 up going into the 80th minute and ended up losing the game. And Jude Bellingham popped up in the 93rd minute to win the game for Real Madrid, and I think that's probably tied down. I can't see Manchester City in the frame of mind that they are going to the Bernabeu and winning. So that must be a real big blow for them, because that would have been a real statement result. I know they've been struggling of late. They obviously had the result against Chelsea a few weeks ago, but it still felt that something wasn't quite right with the makeup of the team. They've obviously brought in some new January signings, and they've done okay in parts. Marmoush has looked like a threat. Kushinov obviously came and scored a winner in the FA Cup last week. That result against Real Madrid would have really kind of kick-started the rest of the season, but I'd be interested to see what they're like in this game. I think they could really struggle. And I'm going to predict that Newcastle are going to win that game 3-2. I can see Man City scoring a couple of goals, but I just think they're so all over the place in midfield. They still don't look watertight at the back. Players are making mistakes. And I think Newcastle could walk away with all 3 points here. Next up is Southampton versus Bournemouth. Now, obviously, both sides have had really different fortunes this season. Southampton have been struggling like mad, but did get 3 points last time out on the road against Ipswich. A late Paul Nyeku goal, who I actually earmarked in my prediction show, so I'm quite happy with that one a couple of weeks ago. He got a late goal to win the game for them, and it was a nice day out for their supporters. They've obviously had absolutely terrible time of it this season. I think they're only their first away win. I think they're still only on about 9 points, and they're way off the pace in terms of being able to stay up, but it's still important that you give your fans days like those that they can at least enjoy, go to the pub, talk to their mates after about the result, and look, they will be in the Championship next season, but you still want to give them something to hang their hat on, and it was a good 3 points for them. And yeah, I really thought they could win that game just because the pressure was in Ipswich, and the pressure is off them now. No one expects anything, and they can go out and just enjoy their football. They're coming up against a Bournemouth side who, even though they lost 2-0 last time out in the league against Liverpool, they were fantastic in that game. I think they hit the post, they hit the bar, they had a couple of goals disallowed. They easily could have got something out of that game. Just the quality of Mo Salah really told in the end, and that's why Liverpool are going to win the title. They can play badly and not play as well as the opponent and get a result because they have just such supreme quality up top, particularly with Mo Salah. But the Bournemouth have been absolutely brilliant this season, absolutely flying, and of late in terms of form in the FA Cup as well. They're through to the next round in that, won at Goodison Park last week. So yeah, I think Bournemouth are pretty nailed on to win this game. If I was to do a banker of the week, I'd say this would be it. So I'm going to go Southampton 0, Bournemouth 3 in this one. The next Saturday 3 p.m. game is a London derby, West Ham versus Brentford. Now, obviously West Ham played last time out against Chelsea, and I thought they were very impressive. They really didn't give Chelsea a lot in that game. We were very fortunate to actually win it. And I felt that Graham Potter set them up in a way which gave them a real solid defensive base. But they did look a real threat going forward. Jarrod Bowen being back made an absolutely massive difference to them. He's such a good player. He's, I think, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, if I'm honest. I can't believe a bigger club hasn't tried to snap him up. And that's no disrespect to West Ham. I mean, a club that's going to be in the Champions League like a Liverpool or a Man United or an Arsenal, because I think he is that good. And Kudos up there caused us so many problems in that game as well. It'll be interesting to see if Lucas Paquetá's back or any of their other attacking reinforcements to just kind of help Bowen and Kudos for this particular game, because it is going to be a slightly different one, because obviously at Chelsea, they're going there, not really any pressure on them. They can sit 10 behind the ball away from home, but they can't do that at the London Stadium. They're going to have to come out and be aggressive and be on the front foot, which is something that their fans demand. And in fairness, Graham Potter is a manager that likes to be on the front foot with his teams more generally. And Brentford will come there to frustrate. They'll be physical. They'll be, getting in and amongst West Ham, and they'll kind of be doing to West Ham what they did to us a couple of weeks ago. And look, they've still got real quality, Brentford. Mbeumo, Yohan Wissa, really been, outstanding this season at times. But they have had a bit of a dip of late. Last time out against Tottenham, I thought they were very, very disappointing. I mean, Tottenham, again, have been really struggling recently. And they had a couple of chances in the second half, but they didn't cause them that many problems and gave away 2 really poor goals as well. And, I think Tottenham probably did deserve to win that game just for the fact that, Brentford didn't do enough, quite simply. And, they've had a couple of weeks off now because they were out the FA Cup. So it'd be interesting to see how they bounce back from that. I think both teams will finish mid-table, but I think you want to carry on the momentum going into the second half of the season. It's big for Potter because he needs to kind of convince the West Ham faithful that he is someone that they want to get behind and stick with. And for Thomas Frank and Brentford, you just don't want to kind of lose that momentum and end up finishing kind of 15th and 16th, and it feels like you've kind of gone nowhere. But I am going to predict that West Ham will win this game 2-1. I was really impressed with them last time out, and I think they may just have the edge here at the London Stadium. The Saturday night kickoff is Palace versus Everton, 2 of the form teams in the league. Palace have been really impressive recently. Obviously, last time out they went to Old Trafford and won 2-0. 2 goals from Jean-Philippe Mateta, who started the season a bit slowly but has had a real renaissance once again recently. He's a real kind of almost throwback to the Premier League about 10 or 15 years ago. One of those big target men that knows where the goal is. You know what you're going to get from him. He's not, Karim Benzema or Robert Lewandowski, but he's going to get you goals and he's going to contribute to the team, and he's going to always put himself about. And yeah, they also won at West Ham again a few weeks before that. So they've been in pretty good form. I think they're up to about 30 points now in the league, where for a while it looked like they could be in real relegation trouble. But, Oliver Glasner's turned things around, and I'm glad that Palace did stick with him and didn't press the panic button, because he is a good manager. And I think they can kind of look forward to another season in the Premier League next year, certainly, but finishing mid-table. They probably won't get much above that. But, there's certainly a lot more to be optimistic now from a Palace perspective, because they've been very, very good recently. Similar with Everton. Now, obviously, they had a midweek game against Liverpool, the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison, and wow, what a way to go out. And now, they didn't win the game, but, your centre-half hitting a volley, top corner, 98th minute, to wrestle a point away from Liverpool and dent their title hopes a little bit. And yeah, not walk away from that last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, knowing that you've lost. That was such a fantastic moment. I'm not an Everton fan, but, you've got to be happy for the supporters that they're able to kind of walk away with those really fond memories from the last ever Merseyside derby, and what a way to end it as well. Some aggro at the end, proper Premier League classic, and, that's what we want to see. And David Moyes has done a great job since he's gone in there. He obviously got knocked out the FA Cup to Bournemouth, but again, Bournemouth were a good side, and he had that loss in his first game against Villa, but other than that, he's been very, very impressive, and they look certainly like they'll be safe now. And that even if they can push up the table a little bit and finish maybe higher mid-table, something like that. But I've been really, really impressed with them. So yeah, this one's a bit of a tough one to call. I think I'm going to go, and I think this is the first time I've done this, for a 0-0 draw. I think both sides are in pretty good form. Both sides are fairly solid as well. And yeah, I think David Moyes certainly, I think, will walk away with a point happy, especially after, the emotions of the game in midweek. And I think both managers will probably be quite satisfied with that. So yeah, I'm going to go for Palace 0, Everton 0. Now, on to Super Sunday. So the first game is Liverpool versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, Liverpool, obviously, in their last two games in the league, won 2-0 away at Bournemouth, which is a really, really impressive result. And on Wednesday, as mentioned a second ago, that 2-2 draw in the Merseyside derby, where James Tarkowski equalised in the 98th minute. Now, again, you could say that's a real blow to their title hopes. Being 2-1 up, the title really within their grasp. They could have gone 9 points clear, and all of a sudden, that kind of explosion of emotion at the end, their players kind of losing it a little bit with Abdoulaye Doucouré and the other players, and it all kind of kicking off. And sometimes you can sit there and go, is this the start of, a bit of a collapse? And to be honest, I can't see it. I think even though Arne Slot got himself sent off, I think generally he's a pretty cool, calm and collected character. It's a really experienced group of players, and I think this is a pretty nice game to have up next. I mean, Wolves, even though they won last time out against Aston Villa in the league, they've been pretty poor away from home, and I can't really see them coming to Anfield and having a real go. I think they'll probably try and sit 10 behind the ball, and generally at Anfield, teams do that, and they end up losing the game anyway. A bit of quality from Salah or Gakpo or Diaz or one of the other plethora of attacking players that they have usually kind of takes the game away from opposition that just sit in and don't try and come out. Maybe if Matheus Cunha can get on the ball and spring a few counter attacks, maybe that will change. But I'm struggling to see past the Liverpool winning this one. I think they will bounce back with a win, and I see them winning 2-0 at Anfield against Wolves on Sunday. Now the next game on Super Sunday is a real cracker, and I don't think anyone knows what we're going to get from this. It's Tottenham versus Manchester United. Now, Tottenham last time in the league got a really great result away at Brentford, winning 2-0. I don't think many people thought they would go and get 3 points there, considering the way they've been playing, the players that they had out, the fact that Brentford had such a great home record. That was a really, really positive result, and since then they've obviously had a few cup games which have been extremely disappointing. The way they just kind of capitulated at Anfield, and I don't think they had a shot on target in the game in a semi-final, and that was really a real damning indictment of the team at this moment in time, and kind of the way that Ange Postecoglou set them up. I thought they were a bit better at Villa, to be fair. I mean, obviously I know they lost the game and Villa could have scored a few more, but I thought Tottenham were a bit more sprightly. They did create a few more chances, and perhaps if Matthias Tell, who obviously scored Tottenham's consolation in that game, if that goal went in about 10 minutes before, then I actually probably would have fancied Tottenham to get back into that, because Villa did really retreat in stoppage time, and Tottenham put a few balls in the box that just kind of couldn't really create that one big chance. And I think they have got a few players coming back now, and look, it's a big game, Tottenham Man United. It's always a big game, so it'd be interesting to see how the players come into this. I think the supporters, they're going to be a protest against Daniel Levy before the game, so the atmosphere will probably be be very, very volatile anyway. You can imagine if Manchester United score early on that would only increase. So it's important from a Manchester United perspective that you go there and you try and silence the crowd, you try and get on the ball, you try and frustrate the Tottenham crowd a little bit, maybe try and get 1-0 up, because all of a sudden, you know, those same anxieties that Tottenham have had recently will come creeping back in. And again, the anxiety and the vitriol from the crowd against, you know, Daniel Levy in the board, maybe even Ange Postecoglou now, where I think a lot of Tottenham fans are broadly behind him, more than they are so Daniel Levy, certainly. If I was a Manchester United player, or if I was Ruben Amorim, I'd be saying, look, quieten the crowd down, frustrate them, go 1-0 up, and you could win this game. But I have a feeling that Tottenham will win this. I just think Manchester United, in so many displays I've seen them in recently, are very, very listless. Now, when they went to Arsenal and Liverpool and they defended very, very stoutly, even Man City to an extent, well, I thought they were poor in that game as well when they won 2-1. I felt that the game was set up for them to go and defend and, you know, be maybe a bit negative, and, you know, that kind of, you know, game actually suited the way Amorim wanted them to play. I think here he'll feel incumbent to go and attack the game and open up. And I think Tottenham's front players, you know, Matthias Tel, Son Heung-min, Kulusevski, I don't know whether they're going to have a few players back for this, can really, really exploit that. As mentioned, I think it will be, you know, a really, you know, red hot atmosphere, and I think that could get the players up for it. I think they'll probably feel that after the last couple of cup games, they owe supporters a big performance. So yeah, I'm going to go Tottenham 2, Manchester United 1. So thanks very much, guys. Those are my predictions for match week 25. I will be doing a separate little video for Brighton versus Chelsea, so watch out for that as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you very soon.